What is up, everybody? It's your boy Rogue here. So, I just got back in from my locals, and I wanted to do a discussion just to give you guys the second video for the week. And there's been a lot of fiasco in the Yu-Gi-Oh community, really about Bonfire, the card that comes out in Maze Millennia, dropping tomorrow. Actually, the set got technically released today. You can't play it until tomorrow. And essentially, it's a card that says, pay one is add a pyro monster from your deck to your hand. Everyone and their mother for the past 2 weeks have been complaining. Oh my god, Yu-Gi-Oh is expensive. Oh my god, this card is $140. The OCG doesn't have to deal with this stuff. And I'm just like, bro, I get it. As a budget player, I get it because on one end, you want to play a good deck like the Fire King deck, which is a structure deck. However, and you don't want to drop a lot of money on a game just to compete with everyone else is going to drop money on said game because in Japan, they don't have to drop a lot of money to play these meta decks. All other card games in the America that's played heavily, like Pokemon, Magic, Force of Will, I think that's a thing, Digimon, Lorcana even, are all relatively budget. But when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh, specifically Yu-Gi-Oh in America and in the EU, we got to get shafted with these high prices. Now, one thing I haven't heard anybody talk about is, well, a lot of players have said this, but I just want to re-emphasize it. I'm on a standpoint of you don't have to play the meta decks to win. I stand on that. I've been a rogue player for 10, 20 plus years at this point, playing rogue since I was a kid. I played rogue in other card games, and I do relatively well for myself. Am I the most dude that tops a lot? No. But do I get my wins and do I top here and there? Yes. And I could definitely say from the time I invested into the game, it's definitely worth it. You are really crazy to pay $140 for Bonfire. What is Bonfire going for right now? I just left locals. People are saying it already dropped from 140 to 65. What players don't understand is we run the market. So even if Konami short prints a card, now this is kind of like a bad example, but hear me out. Even if they short print a card and make it two per box or one per box or whatever, if people are willing to pay that money, the price goes up. That's capitalism, supply and demand. Instead of blaming Konami, just blaming people for paying those cards for those outrageous prices. I personally say it to myself when I started playing Yu-Gi-Oh in this format because I've been playing obviously for a while. But ever since I switched from heroes and was like, you know what, I want to switch my hero deck to a meta deck and play something more competitive. I decided to pick up the Fire King deck because my boy Charles hooked me up with it. And I thought about it for a brief second. Should I just buy the Snake Eyes engine? It's not like I'm broke. I can afford the engine. I can afford bonfires. And even though I can afford those cards, I just don't think it's worth it. And if a lot of players have my mindset, a lot of these cards wouldn't be that expensive because if someone pre-listed it on their website for $100, right, and no one bought it at 100, they'll get it dropped to 95, to 80, to 70, right into the point where the average player, let's say a solid price will be 30 to 40. If people only bought that card at 30 to 40, places will have to sell it for 30 to 40. Will there be some guy who'll pay 50 for it? Yeah. However, if shops had a lot of bulk that in their bulk pile, they gonna lower the prices just to get a card away. That's how this works. And I think a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players just don't have the thought process to think, how can I play this deck without this card? Me personally, and you guys might say, oh, it's copiism, or I'm just kissing Konami's ass, but dude, this is how I think, and this is what I truly believe in. I'd rather just make my own deck my own way. I'm playing Fire Kings, but I'm playing a different build. My build is extremely budget. I'm main decking 3 skill drains. I'm main decking Pot of Prosperity. So on the one end, while I don't have the Bonfire and the Snake Eyes engine, I'm still doing almost as good, if not just as good, as players who are running these engines because I have cards that are just as powerful. The only difference is I'm not spamming the board like they are. Now, there's pros and cons to both of the variants of the deck. In my variant, I don't span the board as often, and I can just win off a skill drain. And their variant, they can span the board a lot and win off their link summons. In my variant, I don't got to worry about Nibiru, and their variant, they got to worry about Nibiru and Dro. So there's pros and cons to everything. My main point about this is us players decide the price of these cards, not Konami. We had to really just take some personal responsibility, look ourselves in the mirror and say, hey, if I'm willing to pay this money for this card, then I'm the one who's driving the price up. Even if you're not doing it, even if it's somebody who is like me, who make the money I make, which I'm not rich, but I make a decent income. If you take somebody with a decent income and they're willing to drop the prices on those cards just to have it, you guys can't get mad at that. Don't hate the player, hate the game. That's the game of, not the actual game of Yu-Gi-Oh! That's the game of capitalism and card games. Now, biggest thing is everyone's saying things shouldn't be as high price. Well, I agree with you. Konami kind of give us the shaft in comparison to the OCG. I don't know the stipulations on why they do it. I'm assuming it's because they just want to milk us, park our pockets dry. They're not going to change anything. I'm more concerned about us not having cash prizing. To me, that's the biggest argument we should be talking about. F the expensive cards, F everything else, F the short prints. Where is the cash? Everyone knows, I know, I don't need somebody reiterating in the chat, Kazuka Takahashi did not want cash prizing. I don't care. I was saying this when he was alive. Rest in peace to him. I respect him for creating the game that I love. But let's be real, guys. Let's be real. The game's been going on in America for 20 plus years. We yet to have cash prizing. We're the only major card game without cash prizing. Now, a lot of people say, oh, you should play for the pride and all that bullshit. But let's be real, dude. Real talk. Everything that we get for prizing, which is like game systems, that stuff gets outdated. I would take a laptop over a game system at this point because honestly, any game system you can buy for $300 to $400. And even if you go to a YCS with these expensive ass decks, the stuff you winning ain't justified the price. I was just talking at the car shop. I ran into one of my old homies that used to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Pretty cool guy. He's a good Pokemon player now. His name's Tyler. Cool, really cool dude. And he was telling me in Pokemon, you can top 32, get like $1,000 just for top 32. And it's kind of like, well, if you do that in Yu-Gi-Oh! Imagine top 32 in a YCS, they cut you a check for $1,000. They may not pay for your deck if you're paying the meta deck, but that definitely helps you out a lot for your costs of the weekend when you factor in hotel, food, travel expenses, etc. I understand this is a hobby, but most hobbies help people out with some form of cash prizing or monetary prizing. Like, even if Konami doesn't want to give us direct cash, in my opinion, I posted on Twitter, and this is a good idea that I had. What if Konami gifted us a card for winning a YCS? They don't want to give us cash. They respect Kazuki Takahashi. Okay, loophole. Gift cards. Okay, they don't want to do gift cards. Let's say give us a car. YCS winner, get a car. People who made top 32, get something that's equivalent in the real world. That's $1,000 that a lot of people can use. I think that's really good because, for one, it shouldn't be that expensive to Konami because they can just write it off as a tax write-off. And for two, us players deserve it for giving our time, effort, and energy to make these events to compete. But the problem we keep coming in is enough players aren't complaining about these things. They have a lot of copium and say, well, Konami said we can't do it because Kazuka Takahashi said he didn't want cash in his game. And it's like, yeah, we know that. I don't care. I do not care, bro. Kazuki Takahashi created the game of Yu-Gi-Oh!, but us players keep the game flourishing. Even if he was still alive and he said he doesn't want cash prizing, fine. We could put our foot down and say, hey, don't buy product until you give us cash for these events. He's either going to have to do one or two things, shit or get off the pot. And if you guys don't understand what I mean by that is, he's either going to have to give us what we want or just cancel the game. And at this point, even though I love the game and I love the game because I do a YouTube channel about it, I'm willing to lose the card game to put pressure on Konami to get us proper prizing for these tournaments. Now, I know this is a luxury; it's not a requirement. However, it would just be cool just to feel respected as a player, especially an American player who invests a lot of money into the card game. I don't really invest a lot of money into the card game. However, I promote the card game. But there's a lot of you guys, the people, who invest way more into this game, fucking foiling out you guys' decks, going to every YCS or every other regionals, and paying a lot of money to compete. And when people see us, like my relatives or people who may be interested in Yu-Gi-Oh! See, hey, you guys are traveling off of this game, you guys must be winning some big money. It always feels awkward to say, nah, we don't win money. We just winning, product. But we have to flip it and be like, well, we could sell it to get some cash back. And it shouldn't be that way, man. ultimately, at the end of the day, man, I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Players, to wrap this video up, I don't know how long it is. I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Players complaining about the wrong shit. Real talk. Cash prizing should be numero uno. Yeah, I understand that, hey, the game is expensive. The game's always been expensive. I'm not going to cry wolf right now because Bonfire is 140. I'm going to do what I've always done. Find a different way to play my favorite deck. And who knows, if I start topping regionals, if I top 8 my regionals, like I'm hoping and praying I top 8 my regionals I go to in 2 weeks with my budget Fire King deck. Because I just want to prove a point. You guys can win without having to buy the expensive cards. Now, is this going to give me a top at a YCS? I don't know. Only time will tell. Because if I do top 8 these regionals, that just pretty much means that, okay, someone's going to top my formula, take it to a big event near them. They may top it, they might not top. But it just goes to show you that the game is not bad. At least, for what it's worth, Konami printed a deck that gave the budget players a chance to compete with a lot of old reprints like Pot of Prosperity and I don't know what set it came in, but it got reprinted. So it allows us to build some form of a deck to compete against the metagame. Now, the metagame's gonna be a metagame. I think, honestly speaking, real talk, I've been telling you guys this for the longest. The only real way to fix Yu-Gi-Oh! Is set rotation and then cash prizing. Because set rotation, it fixes the power creep issue that the game currently has. And the reason why I think Konami just makes the cards hella expensive. I think Konami don't really know what decks are going to be really good. I think they have an idea when they make these decks in the OCG. And then as the decks span out in the OCG to compete, and the metagame evolves, they're like, okay, these are the good decks in the OCG. Now, when we come to the TCG, we know this should be ultra rare, this should be secret rare, and they kind of alter the rarities to counteract the deck so that way they can make profit off the American market. It sucks, but it is what it is. I think ultimately at the end of the day, though, we need to just so since we don't the point I'm trying to make is I almost forgot the point I was trying to make. A little tired. The main point I'm trying to make is we have expensive cards because we don't have set rotation because Konami has to balance the game out by just power creeping everything. And if everything was hella balanced all the time, then no one will really play because games like Battle Spirits, which is another card game, had everything balanced and the game just died due to people just getting bored of the format. Either way, man, I think I'm just rambling at this point. Point of this video is, though, stop complaining, man. Like, you can be frustrated, I get it, but there's more important things in Yu-Gi-Oh! To complain about than ranting about freaking Fire Kings, a deck that could be really good without Bonfire, but you guys just want to play the deck the best level. And it's like, dude, is that even the best level? Dude, let me just talk about the metagame real quick. The metagame is so damn diverse right now. I think even with the Fire Kings getting their full power in the next format, I'm seeing so many different decks, like different Earth decks and different decks cheating out Omni negates at locals. Like you guys see my next vlog I'm gonna upload. I did okay at locals this time. I didn't do as good as I did last week. However, I played against an Earth deck. They bring out Earth Barrier statue. And even though I still won, if I didn't have a hand I had, I would have lost. Nevertheless, man, post your opinions about this video. Comment section down below. Like the video if you're new here. Want to subscribe for more. It's your boy Rogue. And I'm signing out. Peace. See you guys in the next video. Peace.